Hello, guys. Welcome back. Another episode. Welcome back to the Third Man Cricket Podcast. I think we waited for about a couple of days after the fifth T20 international ended. Every one of us were very excited, mainly because it was a series decider. And I think the kind of quality of cricket that also was played was maybe top notch. And yeah, here we are. I wanted to discuss the review of all the five T20 internationals that took place. Similarly, also get to what went well for India, what went well for England, and of course the road ahead for the World T20. India needs the ICC trophy badly. Virat needs it even more badly. So we will be discussing all that along with also giving a brief preview to the three ODIs that are going to be played today. So yes, here I have. Welcome, Pavandeep. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ravi. Hope you're also doing good and hope you also enjoyed a nice break.
Oh yes, indeed. I think our last episode was probably about 7 to 10 days ago. We waited for all five T20 internationals to actually conclude and then probably take all at once. And I think this series has been quite exhilarating, especially the series decider and whatnot. The way we have won the fourth T20 international and whatnot. So I'll not waste much time. What are your views, Baya? How did you find the series?
I think it was a fascinating series overall, a competitive series, especially when you take the last two games into consideration. The first three matches were pretty much one-sided, and I think you would agree, and most of the other people would agree on that. Uh, both the teams are very comfortable chasing, and the conditions were such that with the heavy dew also playing a factor later in the game, most of the times whenever the captain won the toss, chose to field, and at least in the
Mhm.
first three games, the targets were chased very easily. But India broke that streak in the last two games and showed that matches could be won even if the toss was lost and the targets were being set by them. And at the end, I think it was an emphatic series win for India. They have a very, very good record in bilateral T20 series when it comes to deciders. I think they have only lost one or so in the last 5 or 6 years. But overall, it was a good spectacle to view. And England also will take a lot of heart from this series because the next T20 World Cup is going to happen soon, and that's going to happen in India. And they've got a first-hand taste of the conditions. And going by the way the matches are getting scheduled, I think multiple matches would be scheduled in the World Cup in Ahmedabad as well. And if we just do a quick overview of both the teams, starting with India, before the series started, Virat Kohli made it amply clear that they were looking to identify a new template and be more proactive as far as their batting is concerned, and especially when batting first, because they have been unsure of what a good score would be when they were batting first and what is the pace that their innings should go at. And the one area that India was lacking was having power in the batting lineup with batsmen who were ready to tee off from ball one. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli and Shikhar Dhawan are proven one-day players, but somehow in the T20 format as well, they take their time initially to settle down and then go on and double that strike rate with imperative ease. But as you know, the modern T20 demands are such that you also want batsmen in your side who are ready to pick up the gauntlet right from ball number one, irrespective of the situation or the conditions. And so India were looking to identify such players in the series, and I think they have definitely done that. And when we start with their batting lineup, before the series started, Virat Kohli mentioned that their number one pair at the top of the order was Rohit and Rahul. So it was even more perplexing that in the first couple of matches, Rohit Sharma was rested. I myself was not too sure as to why that thing happened, unless Rohit himself requested for that. Because if you technically see, and when it comes to wild ball cricket, I put both Rohit and Virat on an equal pedestal.
Mhm.
Both are going to go down as one of the greatest batsmen to have graced the white ball game. So both of them played the entire Test match series against England, and Virat played that one Test match in Australia versus Rohit, who played two Test matches. So um, if Rohit was to be rested, then Virat also had to be rested if you take that logic. But why Rohit and not Virat is only something which is very confusing. And when you mentioned before the series that both Rohit and Rahul would be your top picks at the top of the order, you started off the series with Shikhar Dhawan and KL at the top, which was even more surprising. And then you ended up giving Shikhar Dhawan only that one chance, which was a tad unfair. If you did not want to play him and if he's not in your scheme of things, then why give him that one chance?
True.
And it's even more unfair for dropping a player after that one chance. Somebody like KL Rahul gets a longer rope because of his white ball credentials, but not Shikhar Dhawan. And if you start with him, at least you would have given him 2, 3 games to prove himself. And having said that, Rahul struggled big time in the first four matches of the series and was dropped for the fifth ODI. And I think the rustiness was evident when he came back because he's virtually played no cricket from December. He sat out the entire Test series in Australia and the entire Test series against England as well. And this is where the management could have been very proactive, knowing that Rohit and Shubman are going to be your top picks, plus Mayank as your third choice opener. So you very well know that Rahul would not be playing in the Test 11 if all of them were fit. So he could have easily been sent off to play the Shayad Mustaq Ali Trophy and the Vijay Hazare, so that he's in that groove. Uh, Once T20s started for the England series, no matter how much time you spent on the sidelines and playing in the nets, match practice is something that's going to hold you in good stead. So I think we missed a trick over there. He should have been playing domestic cricket and not cooling his heels and carrying the drinks out in the test matches. And he's a very important asset as far as Indian white ball team is concerned. And this is only going to lower his confidence unless and until he quickly, uh, gathers himself and starts performing because the competition is such that at this stage, if you miss out on 2 or 3 opportunities, there's somebody standing out there to grab that opportunity. And that is what the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan did. Those were the two main gains, I would say, from the T20 series. The way Surya played in those two knocks was absolutely amazing. You could see the steel in his eyes that I have been waiting for this opportunity for quite some time. I've got this opportunity. Now the ball is in my court, so I have to let the bat do the talking for me. He was a tad nervous in the match that he made his debut in for a fielder who is, very good. He dropped the catch. That is perfectly understandable. You have some nerves. And it was also perplexing that he got picked for the second match and then got dropped again for the third match and again was picked for the fourth match. But whenever he got that opportunity to bat, you could see that he is ready to take on the bowling right from ball one. And that knock he played in the fourth match of 57 was absolutely incredible. And it helped India set up that target of 185 odd. And same with, the final match once Kohli and Rohit provided that platform, he just carried on in the same vein. And same with Ishan Kishan as well. It was a tad bit sad to see him miss out on the last couple of matches due to injury, but he gives you another option in the middle order. And he's a power hitter as well, who can literally tee off from ball one. Which leaves us with Shreyas and Rishabh Pant. Shreyas, I think, had a fantastic series. Whatever opportunity he got in that first game when we bowled out for 120, he held the fort and got us to that total. And then in the subsequent matches as well, whenever he was called in at number 5 or 6, added those crucial runs. And Rishabh Pant, who is literally barged or opened the door for wide ball formats for himself through his performances in the Test arena, was also good in his limited opportunities that he got to bat. And you have to understand that people who bat at 5, 6, and 7 will obviously be getting very less time with the bat. Um, so all in all, and last but not the least, Virat Kohli was the man of the series, and he had a stellar um, series, and it was good to see vintage Kohli back in form, and the way he paced his innings throughout the matches was absolutely superb. I was so happy to see him back at his best, being the chase master, and also, for example, when he batted in that final one day, he scored his first 30 or 40 runs at a run of ball, or just a bit better than that, and he ended up with 80 runs out of 52 balls, and that shows that he has that ability to, put his foot on the accelerator as and when he wants.
Mhm.
And then the key all-rounder in Pandya, Hardik Pandya. Uh, I think England found out him, found out, found him out basically, with with the short pitch deliveries or the middle length where he was struggling to hit, but he got his bearings right and sorted that out. In the last two games, we saw that he repaid them back in the same coin and developed his horizontal back shot making as well. Because earlier what he was trying to do was hit those short of length deliveries also with a straight bat in the V using his power, and it's proving to be his undoing. So, but he's an asset, and he can be that floater in the middle order. You can be used at any point of the game depending upon the match situation. Um, and then to the bowling, I think it was so nice to see Bhuvneshwar Kumar back in the mix after going through all those injuries in the last couple of years, and here he is again proving to be a valuable asset with the new ball. Pretty much set template for him, bowls 2 overs in the power play and two at the back, and we know how adept he is with the new ball, swinging it both the ways. And he was the one who constantly was testing out the England top order, who are in good form as well. And we all know his credentials at the depth that he has developed by playing a number of matches in the IPL. Uh, so good to see Shardul Thakur also providing the wickets that he did. He's a very clever bowler, very uncanny bowler. Sometimes I think he just flies under the radar and does not get as much credit as he does. He should. But the way he utilized the conditions to his advantage was absolutely brilliant to see. He's always going to remain a bowler who goes for runs, but he also picks up wickets, and is also pretty handy with the bat as well. One area that India might be concerned about will be the spinners. Um, it was surprising to see Kohli not use Washington Sundar in the power play, because that's where he's more effective in the IPL. But I think with two right-handers in place at the top of the order in the form of Butler and Roy was what was holding Kohli back. But I think that he should be used more in the power play, because he is good enough to bowl a couple of overs in every match that he plays. Tough outing for UZ Chahal in the first three matches. I think teams have, started to unravel how he's been bowling in the last year or so, because he's not been that successful, I would say, in that period. And so the onus is now on him to up his game further and develop a different set of tricks. And his USP was deceiving the batsman in air and bowling slowly. When in this modern day and age, you find very less spinners who are ready to toss up the ball and be okay to be hit. So I think he needs to uh, up his game a bit. And he was dropped for Rahul Chahar in the last couple of matches, who gave a good account of himself.
Mhm.
Um, he will definitely learn more as he goes on, but he is going to be an asset in the future as well. So that's the thing, you have a replacement for every position now in the Indian team across all the formats, which is also a good thing, that it pushes the first choice player to keep working on his skills, because he knows that if there is a dip, there is already somebody else, or at least a couple of players ready to take his position in the team. So that's a healthy competition that's going on. And it was nice to see Natarajan also finally get a game in the last match. He was on the sidelines because of an injury, and just that left arm angle, is so valuable, and it's an asset for any team to have. And we know that he's only going to get better. Uh, and him, partnering with Bhuvi at Sunrisers Hyderabad and being under his tutelage would also hold him in good stead. And you just have to imagine that we achieved all this without, Ravindra Jadeja,
Mm,
Mohammad Shami, and Jasprit Bumrah
that's
there in the team. So once they come back, it's going to be a well-rounded team, and we'll have a good 20-member pool for that World T20. Uh, and I think the last match that we played might just be the template for leading up to the World Cup, where Rohit and Virat were opening the batting. And it makes absolutely sense when Virat says that you want your best players to face as many balls as possible. And one of them is going to obviously tee off, and be the aggressor. Whoever is batting well on that day would let the other, uh, be the aggressor. It's going to be very rare where both of them are going to, misfire together. Even that happens, you have the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav, Shreyas, Surya, Pant, and all these guys to take over in the middle order. So uh, another thing that the last game proved that we have always have to have six bowling options at your disposal, no matter what. I think the biggest bane of this Indian white ball team, whether it's one-day cricket or it's T20 cricket, is nobody bowls in the top four. If you see the teams of yesteryears, um, Tendulkar, Sehwag, Yuvraj, they used to bat in the top four. Even Dada Ganguly, they used to give at least overs. So you don't have that option. So yeah, always have to bowl with six uh, options at your disposal. Because invariably one or the other bowler is going to have a bad day, like Washi was having in that last game. So Hardik Pandya is developing as a bowler after his comeback. So uh, he batting at number six, and then I think once Jadeja is back at seven, he at six and Jadeja at seven. That is when you're going to have six bowling options, and it's going to be a tight squeeze down. Who are going to be the top five? The challenge will be to fit in all these people. Because Rohit and Kohli are obviously going to play. So who out of Surya, Shreyas, Rishabh, Ishan, and Rahul? You can only fit in three people from out of these. So whoever is in best form at that point of time during the World Cup might get a game. And I see that unfortunately it might be curtains for Shikhar Dhawan as far as T20 format is concerned. So we can look forward to him being part of the one-day setup. So all in all, I think we're close to solving the jigsaw puzzle, and I would like to see this, combination that India went in with in the fifth T20 to be continued. So that was in a nutshell about the Indian team, Ravi. I would like to get your thoughts on the England team, and also if I have missed out anything with respect to the Indian team, and if you have any kind of differing point of view.
Oh, well, so I think it was a very quite detailed review, I'd say. I think pretty much you've covered all. Just to kind of talk about the combination that we should be going with respect to bowling, and like how you pointed out of how we are not necessarily getting overs from the top four and whatnot. Good teams like England, of course, they're the world number one, whatnot, but they have bowlers who can bat predominantly, be it Tom Curran, be it Sam Curran, be it even Archer with his strikes and blows and whatnot. So even Chris Jordan for that matter. With respect to India, that's probably one scene where we are not maybe uh, so versatile. But having said that, it's all about playing to the strength. And even if we have a guy like Jaddu, who's a supreme bowler, very good batter, Washington Sundar can do that job. Shardul Thakur can do that job. It's a process, and I think we've been quite developing on that front. So it's just a thought that actually hit my head, and I kind of wanted to mention that. Coming to a few thoughts on how the series went and whatnot, I think the biggest takeaway is uh, King Kohli and his form. I mean, of course, he doesn't have a century. There's no doubt about it from about November 19 and whatnot. But of course, all the cricket fans are quite concerned because he's better than that, and we all know. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that he was out of form even on those lines. His Adelaide 82 looked so beautiful. The innings that he played at Chennai and also Ahmedabad to a great extent was quite good. And of course, the way he's kind of carried himself, playing at three different positions and scoring three fifties, uh, talks a lot. And I don't think there has to be much debate in terms of who has been the best player, of course, on those lines. No doubt, of course, we've seen KL Rahul, KL Rahul's form being discussed even more aggressively during the second T20 international, wherein he has miserably failed. And by the third in T20, of course, Rohit Sharma's presence was a question, because he would be roped in, and wherein would you slot and whatnot was clearly a question that needed to be asked. I think Ishan's injury to a great extent was a blessing in disguise, or I'll say blessing in disguise for probably KL Rahul, because I think if not so, I don't think he would have made it to the playing 11. And he's going through a rough patch, and I think it's important for him to kind of take a break and then probably focus to an extent on maybe domestic cricket, because even in the three ODIs, until and unless we do not necessarily see a 2-0 sweep right away, I'm not very sure what is the opening combination wherein we are actually looking at a KL Rahul being slotted, or even for that matter. I think it's quite full and content is what I personally feel, with the way Sky also has been batting, and the way Shreyas has batted. I don't think there'll be not much tinkering, and it's important for KL to realize that this is not 90s cricket, of course, wherein you have some more time because of probably the lack of quality or whatnot. And now it's all about grabbing the opportunity you have. You're either good, or probably you just replace with someone better at that very point in time. So combination, I'll say, with Virat playing those three different positions, I think it's not clear, because Virat being Virat, he can be slotted anywhere. Uh, right before the series, we spoke about how KL is a permanent opener and whatnot, and then how Shikhar and Rohit would open, and then suddenly there's a different approach being taken, and then uh, by the 50-20 international, which ended, Virat himself being himself, he kind of also declared it, saying that he's going to open for RCB in the IPL. Uh, we may see, of course, Rohit Sharma will be opening, Shikhar will be opening, KL Rahul will be opening. We may even see Ishan opening for probably Mumbai Indians, keeping in mind the World T20 and whatnot. It's going to be a tricky IPL, mainly because there are a lot of eyes on a lot of players. It's important to carry on the form, and being played in India in the very same venues where we are going to play. I'm very much looking forward to IPL and the squad that's going to be selected. To be honest, 11 to 12 slots or 13 slots are probably quite, uh, maybe they select themselves, but the discussion would be about 3 to 4 slots, wherein probably a UZ would come into picture, uh, considering Jaddu's being slotted in and whatnot. So it's going to be a tricky deal, and so that's on the combination piece. I'll still say we are confused. It's not certain yet, mainly because we've been versatile. We've been able to adjust to the changes due to the injuries that we had to. But naturally, I don't think it's still a certain top six, or the position is still kind of unclear. I'll also briefly, uh, talk about Bhuvi, because I just didn't expect him to do what he did. Amazing bowling there, and Shardul has 8 wickets mainly, and is the leading wicket taker of this series. Only because Bhuvi has put so much pressure on the batting team right before that, they had to go or probably pick the weaker of the pacers, and then of course went for lofted shots and pretty much handed over the wickets, is what I'll say. Nonetheless, nervy moments from Shardul, but nonetheless, he goes home with 8 wickets. So I think something that I wanted to kind of mention about the series. I think we pretty much covered all the aspects that we wanted to. Just a pointer there. Kudos to Ahmedabad pitch curators. Uh, we've seen 2 test matches and 5 T20I's happening. And then, of course, a big square. I don't know for what reason it's called a square, but your big square. And amazing stuff. We've seen pretty much all kind of conditions right there, wherein it favored partly to spinners, and Duke once, partly to seamers. Was a belter of or probably a highway kind of a wicket in the last one. And it's good to have such conditions on one single track. And cheers to Ahmedabad curators, I'd say. I think largely we discussed the detailed review, I'd say. But having said that, I wanted to also take your opinion on what we should be expecting in the next three ODIs against England, which is going to be played at Pune starting tomorrow. So, what are your thoughts, Bhaiya? I think one thing is certain: Rohit and Shikhar are going to open. That's what Virat has mentioned. But having said that, would that naturally take place is still a question with Virat, isn't it?
Yeah, it remains to be seen whether Virat sticks to his word this time, but that would make more sense because since 2013 Champions Trophy, both Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan have been absolutely phenomenal for us at the top of the order in the one-day format. They have carried on the legacy from Sachin, Saurav, followed by Sachin Sehwag, and will surely end up as one of the best opening partnerships to have graced a one-day game. So I don't see any changes in that. It'll be interesting to see if Virat goes in at number three or only for this series, give somebody like a Surya Kumar Yadav the go ahead. And again, it's going to be a middle order muddle that India would need to resolve because just 2 or 3 months before KL Rahul was absolutely, was an absolute certainty in the one-day game with keeping uh, and also scoring those runs at number five in the middle order. And suddenly you have Rishabh Pant, as I earlier mentioned, barging into the white ball formats on the basis of what he did in the Test match arena. So I think they might find it difficult to play both Rahul and uh, Rishabh in the same playing 11 because, as I mentioned like, earlier, India would want to go in with six bowling options in the one-day format as well. Because I don't see Hardik Pandya reaching such a stage where he is bowling 10 overs. And even if he was fit to bowl 10 overs, you don't want to be going in with just five bowling options at your disposal. So 3 and 4, Surya and Kohli, either way around. And then number five would be, a pick between Rishabh and Rahul. And going on the current scheme of things, I think Rishabh might get the nod ahead. And which would also be very unfair on somebody like a Shreyas Iyer. He has done nothing wrong. So again, it might be a toss up between Surya and Shreyas, the two Mumbai lads. Whom do they want to have a look at? Or a classic case, would be for Virat Kohli to rest if he wants to and give both of them a go in the playing 11. But I don't see that happening. So he'll have to take that call. Number six
Mhm,
would be Hardik Pandya. And the kind of maturity that he's shown with the bat, I think he can walk into the ODI side alone as a batsman based
mhm,
on his exploits in Australia.
mhm,
He's batted with maturity of late, understanding the situation, especially in that third ODI that we won in Australia. Kind of partnership that he had with Ravindra Jadeja was
mhm,
something great. So he'll be at number six. Number seven would be again a toss up between Washington Sundar and Krunal Pandya, I believe. I was a bit perplexed personally to see Krunal Pandya there in the scheme of things
mhm,
because if you're going to have Akshar Patel as the backup for Jadeja in the T20s and the Test format, then what wrong has he done to not warrant a place in the one-day side?
mhm,
There have been some murmurs going on that they picked Krunal Pandya based on his form in the Vijay Hazare Trophy, but if you go by the same logic, then Devdutt Padikkal and Prithvi Shaw should have broken the door and come into this one-day team. But we know that top order is already crammed up, so they will have to wait for their chances. I would have loved to see Akshar Patel in there in place of Krunal Pandya, but it is what it is. So I think Washington Sundar might get that early opportunity as the all-rounder in the team. And then I see Yuzi Chahal being the second spinner as of now, although he'll be competing with Kuldeep. Uh, I would love to see Kulcha, play together again and uh, be among that streak of picking wickets in the middle overs. But I don't see both of them playing together since the attention of this Indian management has turned to multi-skilled players the last year or so. For some reason, they want their batting lineup to go deep. So I see Washington and UZ being those two spinners. And then the three seamers, the three frontline seamers, I think picked themselves up with Bhuvi, Shardul, and Natarajan and there. Although they have picked Mohammad Siraj also in the team, uh, I was also a bit disappointed that they altogether dropped Navdeep Saini, from the one-day
Absolutely.
setup. They
Hmm.
did not play in the T20 format. He provides that extra bit of pace. Yes, he leaked a lot of runs in Australia in the one-day format, but who did not? India went for over 350 in both the matches,
Hmm.
and it was
Hmm.
not only because of Navdeep Saini that they scored those runs. So uh, it was, I think, a tad unfair to leave him out and pick somebody like a Prasidh Krishna again, who has shown some promise in IPL for Kolkata Knight Riders, and also apparently he's picked up 14 to 15 wickets in the recent
That's right.
Vijay trophy. So, uh, domestic cricket is the yardstick for certain players, but not for the others. So you'd like some consistency over there. Uh, but again, this series holds very little in the scheme of things. It's not a one-day World Cup year, and India also does not have the ODI league points for which they can play for because they automatically qualify for that World Cup
That's
being
right.
the host. So yeah, it'll just be an extension of the T20 format, and players will look to put forward their names for the IPL season, and it's interesting to see how the likes of Surya and Shreyas and all these people get get the games and utilize these opportunities. It's going to be a bit unfair on a couple of them for not getting those chances, but I truly believe that you cannot, give so many chances in a three-match series moreover, because whoever starts off in the first game will ideally end up playing the second and the third matches as well, unless and until there's an injury. So
Absolutely right.
uh, that is what I'm feeling. And England, on the other hand, would like to, utilize this chance as well to fine tune their ODI uh, space. So surprising to know that after the World Cup final in 2019, this will be the first time that Ben Stokes is going to be back in the one-day team. So it's been almost 2 years.
Hmm.
They'll also have some issues to sort out from their lineup as well. So all in all, both the teams will play attacking cricket for sure, and they will like to get something out of their middle order for sure. In the T20 series, where England struggled was their middle order, was the top order of Roy, Malan, and Butler were absolutely great in that series. And when their middle order was called to deliver, the likes of Stokes, Morgan, Bairstow, uh, although they showed flashes of brilliance, but they were not up to scratch. Uh, they might want to look at roles of the current brothers because if you're not batting in the top six and uh, if you're not a bowler who's going to bowl the full quota of overs, then your place in the side has to be justified. Um, it was a bit surprising to see Moeen Ali not get a go in the T20 format. Adil Rashid was very good, but I see both of them playing together in the one-day format, and then seeing their fringe players also get an opportunity in the form of Sam Billings, Reece Doherty, uh, Liam Livingstone, and all these guys. So they will also want to utilize this opportunity because if you consider the next one-day World Cup also is going to be held in India in 2023, and pretty much sure that after these T20 World Cups are done with, the focus is going to shift on the 50 over format. So, like we discussed last time as well, this is just a series to make sure that the broadcasters are satisfied and they get their money's worth. They need to fill in the calendar. So, whatever it is, it's a treat for us cricket fans, and
Absolutely right.
get to see a whole host of brilliant cricketers with their skills in full force.
No doubt. So mainly with England, I think they look good. They look very balanced because I'm expecting Roy and Johnny to do well. Take some more time and then probably play around. Uh, number three is still a question. For some reason, I was of a very strong opinion that probably Mullen should just continue and play with England. I mean, in the ODI as part of the ODI series as well at number three. But there's still a very huge discussion on it if it could be someone like Sam Billings or Livingstone or even Stokes or even could possibly be Butler as well. So that's something that needs to be asked. I don't know, for some reason I also feel England's spin department is a notch better than India's this time around. Of course, UZ is expected to do well. Probably same goes with Washington, but the combination of Moeen and Adil will be very interesting, and I really love the way they uh, kind of handle the whole scenario. So all in all, I think it's going to be a treat for us. Three solid 50 over games after very long. Um, because the Australian series pretty much necessarily didn't end in our favor. We managed to win a game at Canberra, if I'm not wrong, yeah, at Canberra, and then uh, uh, and nothing much necessarily to happened at Sydney, because we more or less were one-sided game. So would be interesting here at Pune. So yep, all in all, looking forward. Uh, let's hope that we'll see a Kohli 100 this time around. It's been good, solid. I'll say almost 18 months, and I think it hurts now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we might just get that 100 from him, because I think he's been at his most effective as far as hundreds are concerned in the 50 over format, and I think it's just a question of getting that 100, and then the floodgates would surely open. And it'll be interesting to see whether England carry on that same tactic of surprising India with the pace battery that they have, because that was the template that they followed at least in the first three matches of the T20
Hmm.
series.
Hmm.
I think a word about Mark Wood, who was very exceptional in that T20 series with his pace and the lengths. So that trio of Archer, Wood, and uh, Chris Jordan was uh, uh, very good in those first three matches, and they surprised India with their pace. Archer is out of the series. I don't know what's going on with his elbow. I think it's not been managed properly, and now he's going to be missing this ODI series and possibly the IPL as well, as what they are saying. So let's see how they cope up in that pace department as well.
Oh yes. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for this probably this week. Let's also kind of do a review of the three ODIs that are going to be played, and also cover the other games that have been parallelly taking place as well. So yep, that's about it, guys, from us today. Take care, and let's hope for a great series, a competitive series where strengths and weaknesses of both the teams are tested, and would be lovely to see. Any final thoughts, Ponvaya?
I think you have summed it up, Ravi. Let us gather ourselves after this ODI series has completed, and then we'll speak about this series and also the other cricketing action happening around the world, and also give our take on the India versus South Africa women's series, where South Africa had a breakthrough series and won pretty much everything.
Oh yes. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourself, and yes, see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.